The U.S. government has been spying on Americans since before the United States even existed. But this isn't a video about that. That's for another time. This is a video about the CIA. How did we go from not having a spy agency to being spied upon by one? Well, it all started with a war. Chapter 3. The CIA is born in a world at war. The year is 1945, and World War II is coming to an end. But the United States isn't looking forward to the future. Sure, they won the war, but now they've got to figure out what to do with their new world order. President Harry Truman worries that the country he's about to inherit will be vulnerable to attack from abroad. He knows there are enemies out there who would love nothing more than to see the United States fall. And while he hasn't quite figured out who or how yet, he does know that whatever comes, he needs to be prepared. As it turns out, Truman wasn't wrong. In the first months of 1946, several explosive revelations rocked the nation. First, Britain was forced to admit that spies had stolen highly classified plans for the new B-29 bomber. Not only that, but the British had shared these plans with the Soviet Union. Second, former State Department official Aldrich Hiss was revealed to have been feeding the Soviet state secrets since 1938. And third, the U.S. ambassador to the Soviet Union, Averell Harriman, came under suspicion after he shared sensitive information with journalists. While no hard evidence could be found against him, his confirmation hearings were contentious and led to his resignation. These events shook America's confidence in its ability to protect itself from espionage. So, when a former FBI agent named Charles Paletti approached Truman with a plan to combat Soviet spies in the U.S., the president listened. The FBI didn't have the resources necessary to take on this task. So Truman agreed to create a new organization dedicated to fighting communism abroad and protecting American interests at home. But while everyone agreed something needed to be done, no one could agree on what. Some wanted the new agency to focus primarily on collecting foreign intelligence. Others thought it should be more like the FBI, capable of performing raids and making arrests. Still, others wanted the new agency to be able to assassinate foreign leaders, with everyone clamoring for different things. It seemed like the new agency might never get off the ground, just until Truman got involved. In 1947, he pushed through the National Security Act, which established a new department within the government, the Central Intelligence Agency. The agency was officially tasked with coordinating the collection of intelligence and counterintelligence abroad. It wouldn't have any law enforcement powers within the United States, nor would it be allowed to assassinate foreign leaders. Instead, it would focus primarily on gathering intelligence about other countries, which it would then share with the president and other policymakers. Truman appointed the Director of Naval Intelligence, Admiral Sidney Sowers, to head the new agency. And though Sowers was initially skeptical of the CIA's mission, he eventually came to embrace it. Under his leadership, the CIA quickly got to work on its first major project, Operation Paperclip. Paperclip was a top-secret effort to monitor the development of Soviet nuclear weapons. The project began in late 1945 with the creation of a special group within the Joint Chiefs of Staff called the Interim Committee. The committee's job was simple: figure out how to best monitor the Soviet Union's nuclear program. By early 1946, the committee had developed 3 potential solutions. The first was to send spies into the Soviet Union to gather intelligence directly. The second was to set up a network of informants along the Soviet border. And the third was to intercept Soviet communications. The committee ultimately decided to pursue all 3 options, and the CIA was put in charge of carrying them out. The first spies entered the Soviet Union in 1946, and they quickly discovered that the Soviets were further ahead in their nuclear development than the Americans had realized. By 1949, the Soviets had successfully tested their first atomic bomb, and the CIA spies were able to provide valuable information about the test to the U.S. government. The spy network along the Soviet border was also successful, providing the CIA with regular updates on Soviet military activity. and the CIA's efforts to intercept Soviet communications would eventually lead to the discovery of the Soviet spy ring that had infiltrated the U.S. State Department. So while the CIA's first years were focused primarily on monitoring the Soviet nuclear threat, it quickly became clear that the agency's mission was much broader. In addition to monitoring foreign governments, the CIA was also tasked with recruiting double agents. A double agent is someone who works for two intelligence agencies at the same time, and they can be a valuable asset for a spy agency. The CIA's first major success in this area came in 1949 when it recruited Kim Philby, a British intelligence officer who was also working for the Soviets. Philby provided the CIA with valuable information about the Soviet Union for nearly 20 years, including details about the capture of Soviet spies. In the U.S., the CIA's mission was also expanding to include covert operations. Covert operation is any kind of intelligence activity that is carried out in secret, and the CIA has been involved in hundreds of them since it was created. Covert operations can take many forms, from supporting rebel groups in other countries to overthrowing foreign governments, but they are always carried out in secret or with plausible deniability. That means the CIA can't be directly linked to the operation if it's discovered. The CIA's first major covert operation was a 1953 effort to overthrow the government of Iran. The operation, known as Operation Ajax, was successful, and the CIA played a major role in installing a new government in power. Over the next few years, the CIA would become increasingly involved in covert operations around the world. But as the CIA grew, so did the controversy surrounding it. Many people began to worry that the CIA was becoming too powerful and that its activities were a threat to civil liberties. These concerns were only heightened when in 1961, a former CIA officer named Frank Wisner blew the whistle on the agency. Wisner had been in charge of the CIA's covert operations in East Asia, but he resigned in protest after the agency refused to stop a planned operation in Laos that he believed was illegal. Once his resignation was accepted, Wisner began to leak classified information about the CIA to the press. He was arrested and charged with violating the Espionage Act, but the charges were eventually dropped. However, the damage was done. The public now knew that the CIA was involved in covert operations around the world, and many people began to call for more oversight of the agency. Today, the CIA is one of the most powerful spy agencies in the world. It has a budget of over $14 billion and employs over 20,000 people. The CIA is also much more diverse than it was in its early days. Women and minorities are now a significant part of the agency's workforce, and the CIA has come a long way since its early days of spying on Americans. And that's all for today. Thanks for watching.